The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to you from the main streets of Los Angeles, California. Man, I am sitting here in my office. I got all the windows open. I got a nice cool breeze blowing through here, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I tell you, the high today out here in the Los Angeles, Marina Del Rey area was supposed to be about 64 degrees. And if it's 65, it might be. But I'm telling you what, it feels absolutely wonderful. And this is the weather that I always talk about. If I could take it down to the Broken Skull Ranch, that place would be absolutely heaven. If I could get a damn grocery store at least 15 miles away, not 55, to go buy groceries over there at the Pleasant and H-E-B. But that ain't never going to happen, so I might as well stop flapping my gums about it and shoot the breeze with what's going on right here, right now. Hey, you know what? I got up early this morning, made a little bit of breakfast, and went down to the gymnasium. And the gymnasium was so crowded, all I got in was my cardio. About an hour of good solid cardio on like a pre-core elliptical machine. So I'm going to go back this afternoon and train my delts and my bis. And my workouts are coming along. Had a great back workout yesterday. And I told you people about a week or two ago how sore my back got when that first time I hit all those different machines. Well, it didn't get sore this time, and I absolutely crushed it. So I guess I'm getting into better shape. Workouts are going good. Hey, here's a question from me to you. How's your workouts going? What have you been in the gym doing? Have you been going to the gym? Are you one of those cats that have been sending me an email to questions@steveaustinshow.com asking me for a little bit of motivation? I'm going to give you some motivation en masse. That way I don't have to address every single one of you. But I don't know how many damn emails I get. Hey, Steve, can you cut a motivational promo on my ass to get me off my ass and to the gym? Man, I'm telling you something. As I look into the mirror, my waistline is not going to get any smaller. My muscles ain't going to get no bigger if I don't take my chump ass to the gym, and the same applies to you. Now, right now, here's what I've been doing to really batten down the hatches and try to make my plan bulletproof. Man, I went to Walgreens the other day to pick up my sleeping pills, and the price of the sleeping pills was so high, I haven't been able to sleep since. Anyway, I picked up a little notebook. It's just one of them little regular half-size notebooks. And right now, what I do, every single time I make a meal or one of my snacks, I log it into my journal. That's what I'm going to call it. I call it my journal, my diet journal, my diet book. And so I'm shooting at X amount of calories a day. And so this time, now when I log in all my food, I know exactly what I'm putting in my damn body. So after a week or 2 weeks of eating about the same thing every single day, that's what I do when I'm trying to get in shape. It's the same old foods over and over again, and I measure everything so I can be held accountable for it, and I'll know if I need to add or subtract from whatever I'm eating because it's written down on paper, and I'm not guessing at it. It's one thing if I have someone make me a diet and it's sitting right in front of me, and I follow it. But when I've been having a little bit of a stalemate, which I have lately, I write every single thing down, and that way the proof is in the pudding, or it's right there in the journal in black and white for me to reference and see what I'm doing wrong. And so to all you cats out there, man, and there's so many people out there with different schedules than I got, but you got to make your way to the gym, push some iron, and it's progressive resistance, man. You got to add some weight to the bar. Today I was at the gym doing my cardio. And, man, I was over huffing and puffing. I probably had my heart beat up to between $120 and $130, and I was sweating bullets. And then I went over and did some abs. But when I was doing my cardio, I was looking around at the other people doing cardio. And, you got these people who just sit there in these lazy little, a lot of people like that were coming just because it's kind of sitting back, and they're barely pedaling. And they got the iPhones in front of them. They're just kind of sending text messages. Man, if you can send a text message while you're doing cardio, it means your cardio probably is not vigorous enough to really amount to a hill of beans. So, man, you got to apply yourself. You're going to get out of that workout what you put into it. End of story, bottom line, it don't make no other difference than that. And with regards to steady state versus a high-intensity interval training, whatever, you need to bust out a pretty damn good sweat while you're doing cardio. So I got my cardio in. I just watch these people who just kind of aimlessly wander around the gym without a plan of attack. And for one thing, it's good that they're in the gym. But on the other hand, if you're not there for a purpose, and the purpose is to get in shape, or maybe that's your the reason you're there, but you're really not doing that while you're there. So sometimes, man, you just need someone to just wake you up and say, hey, man, what the F are you doing? Are you here to just play around? Are you here to occupy time? Are you here to tell people you work out? Are you here to actually work out? And I've had to ask myself that question many times when I kind of got into a little baby system. I was training like a sissy there for, a couple of months, off and on. Sometimes you get into the doldrums or you get on cruise control, and all of a sudden you're not training at the intensity you need to train at to make any results. And I think that's where I was at. So, man, these days right now I'm mixing it up. I hit all those same back machines that I hit on the last back workout, but I changed the order up. I changed my rep scheme up. And so, man, to all of you people that keep sending me the emails about being motivated or cut a promo on you, it happens to me too. Sometimes I just don't feel like going to the gym. But at the end of the day, I got to look at myself in the mirror, and if I don't like what I see, I got to improve upon it. So that's where I'm at right now. That's where, we're headed to Broken Skull Challenge. I got about a 7-week deadline to get there. So my training is on point. My cardio is on point. I'm not doing too much cardio. Some people go in there and just go crazy on the cardio and do, just countless hours of cardio, wasting away muscle tissue. So everything's on point right now. I'm logging my meals. And tonight when I go back to the gym to do delts and buys, I'm going to start logging in all of my workouts. There's a guy over at Broken Skull Challenge. Talk to him every single day when we're working, and he has logged every single one of his workouts for, I think, going on 7 years. And so if you go back on any date during that time of 7 years, he can tell you exactly what his workout was. So, I don't know that I'll get that carried away. I know that once I accomplish my goals with my diet and with my weight and where I want to be, probably I will stop. But, it kind of reminds me many times when I talk to Jim Cornette or a guy like Jim Ross, guys that were booking who wrote down all the things that were going on in their life, which was wrestling, and you can recall any angle that was shot, any match that was made, and all the gates and all that other stuff. Well, he can do that with his workouts. So anyway, I'm going to start writing all that stuff down. I'm going to start writing all that stuff down as well. But anyway, just giving you a little gym report because I got so many people sending so many questions about motivation. Get your sorry ass to the gym, hit the weights, hit them hard, go in with the plan, and attack. And if you need some help, man, don't be afraid to ask nobody for some help. And if you need to hire a personal trainer for about, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to, learn a couple of workouts or learn what you're doing, man, make goals for yourself. That's what I've had to do for myself is to make goals, weigh X amount of pounds by this date in 7 weeks, and that's what I'm up to. Anyway, I'll stop preaching about that. My illustrious wife, Kristin, just walked into the door, and today's podcast, we're going to sit down and tell our story about how we met, which happened to be, I'll give you a little spoiler, we happened to meet at a gym, the World Gym, right there in Marina Del Rey, California, on the corner of Lincoln and Washington. But anyway, I'm on track. Everything's going good here. Before we get into the body of the show, before I take my first break, I got to mention, got some badass T-shirts over there at BrokenSkullRanch.com and at ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve. And we got koozies. You can add a koozie to a T-shirt order for $3.99, or you can get a pack of 6 for $19.99. I got my word of the day coming up later in the show.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, everybody, here we go. I'm sitting across the table from my illustrious wife, Kristin, who is angry at me for hitting the stop button. I have given her my word. I'm holding up my right hand. I solemnly swear to not hit the stop button until we're through. Done deal?
Done deal.
Okay, with that being said, what'd it do? Welcome to the show.
Why am I on the show today?
Because we're talking about how we got together. I get a lot of people asking me on the question at SteveAustinShow.com. I always want to know, because you made an appearance on a few podcasts, and all of a sudden, this other part of my life, or the other half of my life, is finally on Audible version, and people want to know about you and how we got together.
I'll take credit for 3/4.
Okay, so we got to understand. When I came to Los Angeles, I was already a global icon and a national treasure. I just hadn't coined the phrase yet, but I had been retired from the wrestling business for over 3 years. And so what had happened was I was living in San Antonio, Texas. I'd been retired for about 3 years. I'd had to get out of the wrestling business, and during that time, to get over not being in the business of pro wrestling, I hunted, I fished, and I drank a lot, and not necessarily in that order. But at some point, I kind of had that come to Jesus meeting with myself, and I said, dude, you need to get your ass busy. You need to get back to work. I don't know what you're going to do, but this ain't working, because I wasn't doing anything. So anyway, I just figured that was retirement. And retirement always sounds good. It's kind of this novel, romantic idea that seems like a good thing. Hey, man. After 3 years of being retired, I was sick of it. I needed to do something. And I didn't necessarily want to go back to driving a forklift like I was driving before I got into the business of pro wrestling. So I said, you know what? You had a good time filming Nash Bridges way back in the day. So why don't you go out to L.A. and try to do a little bit of acting or something like that? So, just like they say, I loaded up my truck and moved to Beverly Hills, that is, swimming pools, movie stars. Except I didn't move to Beverly Hills. I moved to Playa Vista. I moved in with my good buddy Diamond Dallas Page. He told me, Steve, he goes, come on out. I got 2 rooms and 2 bathrooms. I got a nice crib. You can rent the one room. I'll charge you $1,000 a month. You ain't got to sign no paperwork. It'll be easy for you. And I said, you know what? I'll take you up on that. And Dallas had dangled that offer in front of me for 6, 9, 12 months before I finally took him up on it, made the transition, and started living with Diamond Dallas Page. Now, the story of Diamond Dallas Page and I living together would have been a damn good reality television show, because this is just like the odd couple, the neat freak and the guy who could really be a slob. And this is a period of time where I was still carrying my bills and stuff around in a hefty trash bag, which Kristin would soon come to find out. But nonetheless, when I moved to Los Angeles, I didn't know anybody, kind of a loner anyway. When Dallas would go out on his nightlife stuff, I always stayed home, usually just kind of have a few drinks. And I had to join a gym. And over the years, I've trained at Gold's Gym in Venice for many, many years. That's a great gym. But the gym that was easier to get to was Joe Gold's World Gym, which is on the corner in Marina del Rey of Lincoln and Washington. So I joined up. And I befriended a guy who was a big wrestling fan who worked in the front desk. And his name was Dan McColgan, a very talkative guy. He was a philosophy major in college and knowledgeable about a lot of things. And we just had so much in common. We became training partners and really close friends. Well, I didn't know that Dan was also friends with my wife, Kristin, from back in the days when they trained at the old Powerhouse gym. So you knew Dan for, 6, 8 years before you knew me? Yeah,
well, Powerhouse closed, so we both had to join a new gym, and that's where I ran into him when I was joining the World Gym.
So anyway, at the World Gym, you got to understand, man, right now they're rebuilding the World Gym. I think they're going to turn it into a brew house. But back in the day, you walked in, and there was an office to the right, kind of just a wide open space, and all the guys that were like in the inner circle would hang out there with Joe Gold, who was in a wheelchair at the time. And, of course, Joe took me under his wing like a lot of the other guys there. And I don't even remember paying to work out. And it was
very laid back.
It was real laid back. And they had this old Rolodex system where everybody's name was on a piece of cardboard.
And I don't even think I had to sign a contract. I think I just signed my name in, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the people paid $30 a month. Most of them didn't. But, Joe Gold always had great gym equipment. He never played any music, and that's what I loved about that atmosphere. No music, because you don't have to drown out the horrible music that most gyms play nowadays with your headphones. So anyway, back to the story. Me and Dan became good friends. We're working out partners, and all of a sudden, he's working the front desk. That was his job. He worked the front desk. And so Kristin starts coming in on a daily basis. She was, and now that I was hanging out with Dan, I started noticing her. And so I was like,
well, we all have conversations together about random things.
Yeah, I mean, like Kristin, on weekends, she would drink a martini or two. And me, on a nightly basis, I would drink vodka. So we had some vodka conversations.
Yeah, that and heavy metal.
Heavy metal music came to the forefront, and I found out that she was a big metal fan, as I was. So I'm like, hey, man, this chick's good looking. She got a good personality. She's smart. She got a degree. She likes a little bit of vodka. I liked a lot, and we both like heavy metal music.
Yeah.
So, man, in my quest for knowledge, I decided to go out to the bookstore and buy a book, The 100 Greatest Heavy Metal Bands of All Time. After I got through reading it, I brought her to the gym, and this is a little bit of a, kind of making it advance towards her, but not making it advance towards her. I said, hey, I got this book. I thought you might enjoy this.
Yeah, you said, I thought it was a gift, and so I said, great, thank you. And you said, well, you can return it when you're done. And I thought, wait a minute, you want me to return this book to you? Okay, so it's not a gift. All right.
Well, I didn't know you. I can't drop $19.99. You know how close I am to $1.
Yeah, but that was a little bit weird.
Well, pretty good move, though. Drop a chick who likes rock and roll music, a rock and roll book.
That really is a pretty good move on
your part. Pretty good move.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I really wasn't even looking either to be dating anybody. And so, anyway, it was just a gesture.
Yeah, it was very kind.
But we would talk back and forth,
yeah.
A little bit of idle chat, while you were on a machine or I was on a machine, and we saw each other pretty much on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And then I was about to go film The Longest Yard. Now, if you remember The Longest Yard that Adam Sandler remade, I played the part of a prison guard. And so prison guard regulations are very strict. I had my famous goatee, which I've had my entire, Stone Cold run as a global icon and a national treasure. I had to shave off my goatee and only keep the mustache. Due to prison regulations, you can't have a cool handlebar or a Fu Manchu. It can't be below the crease of your lips. So I look like a real prick with this stupid mustache. And lo and behold, although I was a global icon and a national treasure all across the world, Kristin didn't know who the hell I was because she did not watch professional wrestling. She found out who I was by...
Well, I went back to my classroom in September, and one of my students had given me a WWE calendar, and I was turning to September, and I said, man, that guy looks like the guy from the gym. I only knew you as Steve.
Yeah.
So I went back to the gym the next day. I said, hey, Dan, is that Stone Cold Steve Austin guy? And he said, yeah. I said, man, you think he'd come read to my classroom? He said, I don't know, but I'll talk to him. So lo and behold.
Kristin leaves the gym, Kristin leaves the office, and, I circle back around, and Dan says, hey, man, Kristin want to know if you might want to go to the school and read to her kids. I said, all right, I'll go check it out with her. So then here comes the interview part. My wife will do the Stone Cold Steve Austin impression because I got this stupid mustache. And I, don't know this chick, so I'm going.
But you did. You look like a highway patrolman or a police officer, and you were interviewing me like I was being investigated or something.
Well, I had to get information out of you.
Are you the special ed teacher? I'm like, yeah. Do you think you might want to come read to my classroom? And you said, well, I got to go check with my manager. And I'm sitting there in my mind thinking, why does he need to check with somebody? Can't he just come read to my class?
Kristin, global icons and national treasures got managers, got people.
I didn't realize how important you were, so.
I didn't either. So, anyway, I figured there's a way out of things weren't going to work out.
Okay.
I didn't want to commit to anything right off the bat. Man,
right.
You kind of had me on the spot. I give you a heavy metal rock and roll book, and they ask me to read to the kids. So, anyway, fast forward a little bit, down the road a couple of weeks, and we were hot and heavy. We was filming Longest Yard, and it seemed like we filmed that movie for several months. It was several months. And, of course, man, I was working out like gangbusters, Kevin Nash and all the guys. I think I was weighing about 275 at the time. I was in pretty good shape, real good shape. And god dang, we would drink a lot when we were on the set. Kevin Nash and I, that legend of that filming session in Santa Fe, New Mexico, is still alive and well. So we started filming in Los Angeles. And my buddies were coming to town. My guys that I stopped by their house in San Angelo a couple of months ago, last year, whenever it was, Los Lonely Boys. Notice I didn't say Los Lonely Boys. So anyway, I figured this would be a prime, opportune time because I started taking a little bit of a shine into Kristin. I thought maybe she was digging me too. So I figured I'd call her up and ask her if she wanted to go to a concert with me when they were coming into town to play at the Wiltern Theater. So I crept into the office where my buddy Dan McColgan was working. Actually, I didn't creep in. I just walked in, started going through the Rolodex, came to the thing where it said Kristin blank, her last name, and said, here we go. These 10 little digits. Plugged it into my Motorola Star Trek phone, and there we was. I was going to call her later on that night. Well, later on that night turned out to be about 1 in the morning. After about 12 or 16 beers, I decided to give her a call. And she calls. Go ahead. I said,
I answered the phone. Well, first of all, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was sleeping because I get up early to go to work, like
and
a regular
my wife
person.
she gets up early. She's very, 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 very responsible teacher.
So when I answered, I was... number one, I was dumbfounded because I didn't know who you were. And then you said, this is Steve from the gym.
You know, Steve from the gym, a cop.
And you asked me out on a date. I didn't know what it was.
I said, I got 3 buddies. They're playing a band. It's not heavy metal, but I think you'll really like them. It's called Los Lonely Boys. Well, I'll say it like I did because that's the way I said it back in. I got 3 buddies. They play in a band called Los Lonely Boys. They're really good. I think you might get a kick out of it. You want to go?
I don't know if I answered that night. I can't remember because it was so long ago, but I do remember committing to the date, and I figured, okay, so I'll go, and I think it was on a Friday night, and you were working.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, so I wonder what time this guy's going to pick me up. And you never picked me up.
Well, here's the story. We was filming, hand me your water, swig of water for the working man. We was filming at El Camino. We were filming at El Camino Community College. Where's that at? It's
South Bay.
South Bay. So we got off work about dark at night because it was filming. I was beyond my control, and my manager was going to go to the concert with me anyway. So I just figured, to not to have to drive home, he could just pick me up and go to the concert. And if you drove there, then I wouldn't have to drive all the way over to get you and then end up at the concert, so I figured it'd be saving time.
So I went out and got a new outfit. I remember what I was wearing, and I get the call. Can you meet me at the concert? I'm like, really? You asked me out on a date?
Now, that's a real deadbeat thing to do, because I should have by all rights picked you up.
Yeah.
So that was that was lame.
And so then I qualified it in my own mind. I said, it's probably a good idea because I don't really know this guy, so at least I'll have my own vehicle.
And she did. She scored some points when she showed up. Well, first of all, when I found out she drove a pickup truck, an extended cab pickup truck with a camper on it that she could put her dogs in. So she really scored points with the vehicle, although you lost points because it wasn't four-wheel drive.
But wait a minute. Step back for 1 second. He says, so what do you like to drink? I said, well, or what kind of vodka? That's what it was. You asked me what kind of vodka.
Yeah.
I said, well, I like this particular vodka, which is a high-dollar vodka.
No, let's just say it's a quality vodka.
Okay, quality, yeah.
And I was in one of those cheap modes, so I won't mention the brand because I want to tarnish the brand names, but it's pretty much rot gut vodka.
Yeah, it was a plastic bottle.
And so that's what I bought. And so we go.
And you didn't just buy it, you brought it to the concert and asked me to stash it in my purse.
Hey, man, here's the deal. You got to go through security, and you can't carry alcohol in. But I just figured that didn't apply to me, so I asked Kristin to carry the fifth of vodka in her purse.
I'm thinking, he's going to make me a nice martini. Oh, no, it was vodka out of a plastic bottle. That is not what I wanted to drink.
Well, we got some ice we put in a plastic cup.
That's not a martini.
Anyway, we all of a sudden, we go through the security line. And, it wasn't a great big security line, but, it was a packed house, Wiltern Theater. It was sold out, and it was a great atmosphere. Go to the back, start having the cocktails, and, boy, I'm hammering them down because, I think my manager's going to end up leaving, which he does, so I got to ride home.
And I couldn't drink because I was driving, so I just barely had one drink early on.
Meanwhile, this is during my drinking days, so I was hammered down. I was pretty lit. And all of a sudden the concert starts, and there's my 3 buddies, Henry, JoJo, and Ringo. And lo and behold, y'all both know how huge of a Stevie Ray Vaughan fan I am. And my wife is equally as huge of a Stevie Ray Vaughan fan as I am.
But I don't know if we both knew that when we
didn't know. We didn't know that, but we both knew the keyboard player that used to play with Stevie Ray Reese Winans
Yeah.
was on stage playing with the Lost Lonely Boys. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We were having a great time. It was
Yeah.
an awesome concert, were it
Right.
not?
It was. It was a great concert. Then the concert ended, and we were we went and hung out with them in their trailer. And Reese Winans was in the trailer, and I was just so starstruck because I wasn't starstruck over you, but I guess I was starstruck over Reese Winans.
Well, here's the thing. I'm blasted out of my mind, and I wish I would have been doing an award-winning podcast, which never wins any awards back then,
Yeah.
because I sat there and just machine-gunned Reese Winans for at least an hour and a half.
Oh, my God. The poor guy.
I felt bad for him now. I mean, I'd love to meet him again because I wish I could remember most of the
Yeah.
conversation, but I don't. But we stayed there, and, of course, Henry, JoJo, and Ringo were cool. I'd throw them in a conversation every here and there, but it was just such a thrill to talk about life on the road with Stevie Ray
Yeah.
and the rest of Double Trouble.
Yeah, it was a wonderful evening.
So then, at the crescendo of this wonderful evening, it's time to go. And my
It's
manager,
like 3 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, it's late, man. And so my manager has long since vanished and hauled ass. Well, here's the thing. My manager at the time drove a Cadillac Escalade. And in the Cadillac Escalade, just like in the many vehicles,
Most cars.
you have the side pockets on those doors. Well, when he had picked me up, or we had met at the location wherever I left my Ford Explorer, which Longest Yard was renting for me, tell the people about all the stuff I had in the Ford Explorer.
There were so many bottles and cans. Every time you would turn the corner, it'd go ting, 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 ting. They all go to one side. Then you turn the corner, they all go to the other side. You couldn't even sit in that Ford Explorer because there was so much crap in there.
It was bad. I mean, it was literally, man, if you make a right or left, all that stuff would go from one side to the other. It was scripts. It was cans. It wasn't beer can stuff. I didn't drink and drive. But it was just any kind of junk.
Water bottles,
everything. So anyway, what happened was I left my keys, and this is a shoot story. And
That means true.
My wife still thinks I'm lying to this day.
Yeah.
This is a shoot story. I left my keys in the side pocket of George's Cadillac Escalade. So anyway, the concert's over. I get through grilling Reese Winans. Where was he on September 13th, 1980? All that stuff. And it's time to go home. And so I live in Playa Vista. My wife's place is in Venice. And that's about a 3.5 mile distance right down Lincoln Boulevard. So we're really close, but really far. So she's got to drop me off. All of a sudden, you know how you do the old pat the pocket routine?
So we get in the car in my truck. I was going to give you a ride home
Right.
and we get to your home and you didn't have any keys.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's when you pat your pocket and you're like, oh, man, I'm screwed. I don't have my friggin' keys. So here's the story. I said, man, wait right here and let me make sure I can get in. Here's the thing about living with Diamond Dallas Page. Page is one of my closest friends of all time. And when he shuts down the lights, man, he ain't like Tom Bodette. He don't leave the lights on for you like Motel 6 will. He shuts everything down. He's got extra bolts on the door. There's no way you can use a credit card to jimmy your way in.
And it's a security building.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice condo. You got the drive-in gates. You got the gimmick security. I don't even know you know how I got in the first gate was someone was leaving, so I got in that gate.
Yeah.
So then I got to Page's door. So I'm knocking on the door, knock, 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 nothing. Knock, knock, knock. Finally, I start beating the hell out of the damn door. I wish this was Unleashed. I could cuss. I said, Dallas, wake up. And so here's the thing. When Diamond Dallas Page goes to sleep, I think he probably has a sleep issue like me, and I think he's taking a sleeping pill or two. And he puts in earplugs so he cannot hear. On top of that, he wears one of those things across his eyes so it's pitch black. And this was the guy way back in the day when we checked into a hotel room, Kristin. He would break out a canister of thumbtacks and thumbtack all the curtain edges to the wall just to completely seal out any solar energy. So anyway, I'm beating the hell out of Dallas's door.
And meanwhile, it's like almost 4 a.m.
It's almost 4 a.m. Then I go down to the side window. I'm yelling at him, and people are yelling at me, "Go home!" And so I walk back out to Kristin's house, and I say,
My house?
I mean, restrike at Stacy. I walk back to Kristin's truck and shake my head, and this is a true story. I said, man, you ain't going to believe this. I can't get in.
And I didn't believe you.
But there's only one option.
Well, I said, well, what do you want me to do?
Well, I mean, what do you want me to do? I mean, the only thing I could do was go to your house and sleep.
You could have stayed in a hotel, as I'm thinking back about it now.
Well, I probably could have. I wasn't even thinking about that because I did have my credit card and my money.
Yeah, I didn't think about that either.
So anyway, back to the story. So we go back to Kristin's house, and I'm going to go to sleep. Well, I mean, like, man, I'm pretty hammered. I mean, I'm not going to try to make a move or anything like this, but...
Yeah, but I was kind of scared because I didn't know who you were. I mean...
Right. Well, she knows now that I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, but she didn't know anything about me.
Right, so we ended up staying up till 6 a.m. talking because I didn't really want to go to sleep because I was nervous.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to go to sleep anyway.
Yeah.
And
I had a baby shower the next day, so you went to sleep. We both went to sleep. I woke up like at 8 o'clock, showered, got ready, and then I took you back home, and then I went off to my baby shower. So
yeah, so about this time, Dallas Page was waking up, and so I finally got in the damn house, told him the story, and man, since I'd been up all night, and I drank damn near the whole bottle of vodka by myself because she was the designated driver, man, I had a hangover from hell. So I figured, well, and this is during football season, so I just kind of moped around that day. I think I went to the gym, got a little bit of a workout. I was off work from the longest yard. And so that night I figured I'd call Kristin back. So I called her up and said, hey, what's going on? We just started talking on the phone. And, man, I had a hangover. I drank a 24-pack talking to my...
I could not believe it.
That's a true story, though. I had a
24 beers.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I'm not bragging, I'm not proud of it, but I drank a case of beer sitting there talking to Kristin. By the time I finished with the case, it was time to go to bed.
Talk about hair of the dog.
So then, Sunday, I called her back up. Hey, go ahead, you go do this one.
You watch football?
Because everybody likes football. It's football Sunday. So I said, hey, you like football? She goes, yeah, I guess. I said, all right, I'll come over. So I get my pickup, grab a 12-pack of Miller Lite.
No, you had your Porsche Cayenne.
Okay, yeah, I drove a Porsche Cayenne, and I stopped, get me a 12-pack of Miller Lite, and we go to I go to her house, and we watch football all day.
All day long.
And then I said, man, I'm hungry.
Yeah, because we hadn't eaten anything.
You like Mexican food?
And I said, yeah, there's a place right down the street. It's within walking distance. It was literally 4 houses away. And I said, well, let's go to the Mexican food place. And you said, no, we'll drive. I'm like, drive to the Mexican food place? It's 4 houses away. So we got in the Porsche Cayenne. You passed it up the first time because it's so close and you were driving so fast that we had to go around the block again to get to the restaurant that was within walking distance.
See, and so we had a great Mexican food meal. I think I had a margarita. And the thing I don't like about West Coast or California Mexican food is it's all shredded beef.
Yeah.
And in South Texas, might be a little bit Tex-Mex, but I like ground beef. So the food was what it was. And at the end of the day, we had a meal, and we went back and finished watching football. Did I spend a night that night?
I can't remember.
I can't remember if I spent the night that night or not.
No, I think it was the following week, and then you brought your gym bag that had all this stuff in there. It was this black bag that you would show up at my house with, and I'm thinking, why is he bringing this duffel bag in?
What was all my stuff?
Yeah, well, your intent was to sleep over, and I'm thinking, is he moving in or something?
Well, no. So I had my black bag, had my toothpaste and my toothbrush in there.
Protein powder, and you had so much stuff. You were always carrying so much stuff with you.
So anyway, but basically...
You moved in.
Basically, I moved in after about, 1 week?
Couple days.
So there we are living together, and Kristin has a real job and is a very responsible teacher. So she was under a strict protocol, and she never ever, to her retired days, drank during the week. She only drank on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
And so, left to my own devices, and that's pretty much what I was doing.
Yeah.
So we lived together there in Venice for...
Gosh, I don't know, a couple of years, and then we moved to Malibu.
There's a couple of years, and then for a while I was living with her, and I figured, man, you know what? I've been around for a while. I need to get my own crib. And I was going to get a place in...
Malibu.
No, I was going to get a place in Orange County.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was going to get an apartment. So I get an apartment, get it all set up, and buy all the furniture. And this is kind of a weird thing.
No, because you were still living at Dallas's, but you were staying at my house predominantly.
So I needed my own crib.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get away from Dallas because I wasn't really using, the room, so it didn't make sense to pay $1,000 a month.
Yeah, and your manager thought it'd be a good idea if you're closer to him.
So it seemed like a good idea at the time because you got to have your own place.
Right.
So I go to lease this place in Orange County, which is about 45 miles down the road. And I stayed there, and Kristin helped me get the place set up. And I stayed there for a total of one night.
One night.
And moved back in with Kristin. Well, I didn't really move back in with her. I had my own place that I never used, but I was basically still living with Kristin.
Yeah.
So after 6 months, I gave that apartment up. Now, here's the thing. Y'all know how tight I am with the dollar. I still have all of the furniture that I bought for that apartment, and it's down at the Broken Skull Ranch, correct?
Yeah, my mom had the sofa and like an armoire, and we have this table that we're sitting on.
Yep.
Was a table, or that we're doing the podcast on, was the one you bought for that house.
Yep, and I still got that granite table that's at the Broken Skull Ranch.
Yeah.
So anyway, y'all know how tight I am. When I started segueing back down to Texas, I took everything with us. Anyway, I get the big idea. You know what? I think it'd be cool to live in Malibu, California. So I decided to go, we decided to go look for a place in Malibu. And why I picked Malibu out of the blue, I have no idea. Because it sounded like one of those things that's
like so romantic.
And novel at the time, living in Malibu. Boy, it'd be great. Well, here's the thing. What in the hell am I thinking, dipstick? I don't surf. I don't like the water. I mean, I dig the water, but I'm not a beach person. And so why would I want to live in Malibu? And here's the thing.
Malibu's separated from Santa Monica and Venice by one highway, Pacific Coast Highway, which is very difficult to travel on.
That's the one that Mel Gibson got busted for DUI on. Single lane. It's just 2-lane both ways, but it's just narrow, windy. It's dangerous. All those Ferraris you always see crashed up, that's where they get in trouble, driving too fast on the Pacific Coast Highway. And so we're living out there. And Malibu, to me, I thought it sucked. Now, it's a great place to go if you're visiting or you love the beach or you have a nice house there on the beach. It's wonderful. But where we were, we finally decided on this house, and it was on a hilltop, and it had this tremendous ocean views.
It had a beautiful view.
And we were back far enough from the highway so that the highway noise wasn't a factor. And all of a sudden, we move in, and there's my neighbor next door. She says, "Hey, welcome to the neighborhood." And I go shake her hand. I said, "My name is Steve." And she goes, "My name is whatever it was. Are you the new neighbor?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you know about the leaks?" And when she said, "Do you know about the leaks?" I knew we was in trouble. So anyway, we were at the Malibu place, and we got all the leaks fixed, and it was what it was. But Malibu just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And that's when I said, "Hey, you know what? I'd rather just the market was down. When I bought, it was high. When I wanted to sell, it was low. But I just said, man, I'm just not happy out here." Because here's the thing about when you live in Malibu, and I was going back and forth to Los Angeles a lot of the time. The PCH from Malibu to Santa Monica is 25 miles. And so if a guy on a bicycle gets hit by a car, you're stuck. If there's a crash, you're stuck. If there's a mudslide or a rock slide, you're stuck. If anything happens on the PCH, you're screwed as far as trying to get into town. You can loop back around, go through the canyons, jump on a 101, but that's a cluster. So living out there was just kind of like being close, but not close enough.
Right.
And I hate this is when I was really trying to get entrenched and in the doors of something. So I was going back and forth to a lot of meetings, and it just sucked ass because y'all know that I'm an early bird. And so, didn't really have any sense of community out there. And so it was time to move on back. Put the house up for sale, and after some time, we ended up selling that thing, and we moved right back into Kristin's house.
Yeah.
We made it there for about another year or two, and that's when we finally ended up at 316 Gimmick Street. But along the way, when we were in Malibu, it was one of those things where, I had bought the house, put it in my name. Kristin's house was hers and in her name. And so we had these two completely separate houses. We were only utilizing one, and it's kind of like in Kristin's life, who had never been married. She's kind of like, we were very serious in our relationship and been together for 5 or 6 years. It was time to
It was about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so excuse my French, this is a family-friendly show, but it was time to shit or get off the pot. And so finally, and the feeling was in the air, and because she was frustrated, and concerned about her future. And me, had been divorced 3 times, that was the furthest thing I wanted.
Yeah.
It's like holding up a crucifix to Dracula, Count Dracula. But I knew where she was coming from, so we really had a long discussion about where we wanted to be and what needed to happen or the future, and got on the same page. And it was a very serious come to Jesus and heartfelt meeting. So anyway, some point later, we decided, we would stick together when we would do something about this, and we ended up buying this ranch down in South Texas that was soon to become known as the Broken Skull Ranch. And we had a deer stand there on the south side of the ranch named Johnny Cash. And so I had been planning on asking Kristin to marry me for quite some time, but the timing had to be right. We were going to be in a few different places. And where were we right before the Broken Skull Ranch? Because we were at some neat location. I was thinking about asking you there.
I was at the house.
No, we were in...
Catfish Pond.
No. We were at some location filming something. And I thought it would have been a real...
No, you were gone. The day you asked me to marry you, you were in the barn over at number 1, the other side of our property all day.
No, I'm talking about there was some location where we used to travel.
I have no idea.
Okay. It was going to be, I don't know if it was Vancouver or whatever. I just, there was one of the places where we had.
Oh, you mean where you were filming?
Yeah.
You're probably in Vancouver.
Okay, so I just thought, Kristin really liked the city of Vancouver, so I thought about asking me there when she came up to see me while I was filming. But I didn't.
Oh, you never told me that.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was trying to think of a great location.
Okay.
But then I thought about it, I said, you know what? The Broken Skull Ranch is the most special place to me, so I figured that would be where I'm going to ask her. So I just returned from making that movie, and I was trying to go around in the Marina Del Rey area to find a wedding ring.
Oh, yeah.
Just a silver band, nothing fancy, just something to facilitate the process to be able to have a ring to put on her finger. And so I'm in this little bitty corner jewelry store, and I got my eye on the ring that I want. I know her ring size and everything. Can't remember how I got it. Probably looked in a Rolodex. And so some idiot is up there trying to get a battery changed and a little watch. And I'm over there waiting. I'm waiting. I got to go because we're about to come.
We're getting ready to leave.
We're getting ready to come down the ranch.
Yeah.
And so I needed that ring, and I needed it now. And so finally the dude kept asking all these stupid questions about this little plastic watch. And finally I said, all right, I got to go. And this is one of those kind of jewelry stores that when you get in it, they got to buzz you out. So finally, I just had enough. I said, hey, dude, can you hit the buzzer so I can get out? He goes, no, I'll be right with you. He didn't want the sale to get away. I said, no, man. I said, I got to go. He goes, no, I'll be right with you. I said, no. I said, I got to go. And that was kind of like one of those egg, potato, cheese things. When I say I got to go, he hit the buzzer and hit it extra long.
He's like ready for you to get out of there.
So anyways, I'm like, okay, man, I gotta do something so I have a ring to put on her finger when I ask her to marry me at one of the deer stands on the ranch. So I get one of my old wedding rings. I got a bunch of them. And I always wear, if you look on my left finger, I like real thin wedding bands because they don't impede the movement of my hands or my fingers. And that skull ring, which is wide, it just fits my finger like a glove. So if you're asking, if I tell you I wear a thin ring and I have this one on the other hand, it's because it fits like a glove. I don't like those big, gigantic, bulky rings. So the ring that I was going to modify was perfect for the task at hand. So what I did was take a pair of wire snips.
On the day after we got to the ranch.
After we got to the ranch, I took, I'd grab, I have one of those carabiners. I got all my old wedding rings on a carabiner. So I just pulled one off, put it in my pocket. When we got down to the ranch, I went in the barn, and I got a pair of wire snips, and I clipped a section off of that ring, and then I got 2 pairs of needle nose pliers and reconnected them. I didn't solder them together. It was just a makeshift wedding ring.
Yeah.
So anyway, I figured, out of all the deer stands on the ranch, that one on the river is called Johnny Cash. It's Kristin's favorite deer stand on the ranch. Why is that your favorite deer stand?
I don't know. I'm partial to that deer stand for whatever reason.
Okay, she's partial to that deer stand. But that being said, old Republican Pitchers cliffhanger. I'm coming right back after these messages to tell you how it went down at Johnny Cash right after we take a pause for the calls and listen to a word to the sponsors to keep this show on the air for free. I'm coming right back. About to pop the question to my illustrious wife, Kristin. All right, so here we go. Here's how it all went down. I decided I was going to ask my wife to marry me at Johnny Cash. And Johnny Cash is a rectangular aluminum deer stand. It sits 12 feet in the air. It's 6 feet. It's 4 by 6 feet. And it's got this shelving system in there. So I already had this all planned out. I had some candles in there. I had 2 wine glasses in there. I had a bottle of wine in there. And I needed to get her up there to ask her to marry me. So I needed something to light the candles with. So I had a lighter in my backpack, and I had that bottle of wine in my backpack. So anyway.
And you had the gimmick ring that you just
I had the gimmick ring that I just made in my pocket. So we drive up in the Ford Bronco, and I grab my backpack, and I go up to the top of the deer stand.
And I didn't know what you were doing. I had no idea what was going on, actually.
And there was a big-ass storm about to blow in. I mean, the skies were dark and cloudy, and it was about to come a turd floater.
Yeah.
So I go up the 12-foot stands. And these are the same deer stands, the 12-foot inclines or staircases that I carry Hershey the Wonder Dog up and down every deer season. So I go up there, I open the door, I get out my lighter, one of those long lighters that you light a fireplace with, and lit the candles, poured a glass of wine in each thing, and I stepped out of the deer stand onto the platform, and I waved to my wife, come on up.
Because I was still sitting in the car.
And she's looking at me with this quizzical look on her face, and I said, come on up. And she's thinking, maybe there's somebody up there.
Or an animal got trapped in there.
She doesn't know what's going on. This is truly a surprise to her. So when she walks in the door, she sees the setup, and her eyes get all misty.
But I still didn't know what we were doing because I thought, wine and candles at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's kind of strange.
I know you like to drink, but this is a little bit ridiculous. So anyway, I pulled a ring out of my pocket, and I can't remember exactly what I said, but words to the effect of, whatever, will you marry me?
And I said, I'll think about it. No, I said, yes, I will.
So anyway, she said yes, and I said, you ain't going to believe this, but this is what I had to do to make this wedding ring, because I don't want to be putting this, pardon my French, because it's a family-friendly show, but I don't want to put this piece of shit on her finger without her knowing the trouble, the headaches, hassles, and horse shit that I had to go through to make the damn thing.
Yeah.
And by proxy, how expensive the ring actually was. Called prenup. I didn't have one. So anyway, I slipped this multi-million-dollar ring on her finger, which looks like I just got it out of one of those vending machines you put a quarter in. So anyway, she says I do. I put the ring on her finger. We have about 2 swigs of wine each. Now here's the other kicker. It was hotter than blazes.
Yeah, it was.
It was really, really muggy. The storm was coming, but the wind was still, and it was hotter than hell. And so we each took about 2 swigs of our wine, looked at each other, and said, well, okay, let's haul ass. We packed up the damn deer stand, put the glasses away, put the cork back in the bottle, jumped in the Bronco, and hauled ass. And as soon as we got back to the ranch house, it started raining cats and dogs. And so to just continue on with the story, we got home from the ranch, and we didn't want any big shindig for a wedding. It wasn't my wife's thing, and it wasn't my thing. And obviously, when you've been married 3 times previously and they all turned out to be duds, not so much. So we decided to get married here in our house.
Yeah.
So Kristin did the legwork on that.
Yeah, because I don't, I'm not a wedding person. I don't really want to have a big wedding. So I called this, it's called marriagetogo.com, and the lady said, oh, I'll come over, and you don't need any witnesses because we were doing a private deal, and it was a day you just got back from filming.
I just flew in from Vancouver, just finished a movie, and I'd had a cocktail or 2 on the airplane, and Kristin to this day still think I was pickled when we got there. I had a couple of vodka and cranberries, went to sleep, and showed up, took a shower.
Because you were supposed to come the night before, but something got delayed. And then,
yeah, well, that's low-budget movie central. When things happen, they always happen
but
like that.
we had planned on December 21st because that was the time where I was going to get some time off. And I took an extra week off so we could drive down, and we rented an RV. So we were going to leave on the 22nd of December after we got married on the 21st.
To go down to the ranch.
Yeah.
So anyway, 21st comes, I roll in, take a shower, get all cleaned up. Sure enough, here comes the marriage to go lady. She comes in, And right here, when you walk into our house, we have a very open floor plan. And there's a fireplace right there that separates, the entryway from the living room. And then there's the couch, and there's this table. And we were going to stand right in front of the fireplace, and that's where we were, my wife and I. And then the lady, she had this bell hooked to like a wooden stick, and she would hold on to the wooden stick. It's like a handle. And ding, ding.
Sort of like as a extra.
Start the ceremony type gimmick.
Yeah.
And so, anyway.
That lasted a total of 1 minute.
So the lady rings the bell 2 times, and then she puts it back on the table, and Hershey the Wonder Dog, who was probably 4 or 5 at the time.
I can't remember.
Anyway, Hershey's like a practical joker. I always say she should have been a pro wrestler. She's always pulling ribs. So here we are in this romantic gala ceremony of Stone Cold Steve Austin getting married to his illustrious wife, Kristin. And so here comes Hershey doing her drive-by, and she puts the lady's bell in her mouth and starts walking around wagging her tail. And so every time...
Ding, ding, ding,
ding, ding, ding. So every time Hershey does something like that, I always got to put her over and start going, Hershey, Hershey.
Yeah.
So we give her all the attention and then put the bell in a place she can't reach it. The lady goes through her ceremonies. Did we kiss that morning?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. I was drunk.
Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
No, I mean, yeah, but it was one of those wedding kisses.
Yeah, it's kind of,
Yeah. Yeah, it's the...
it's awkward because the lady's standing right there.
Yeah, standard operating procedure. Yeah. We didn't start making out or nothing. It's the gimmick wedding kiss.
Yeah.
And then so the lady packs her bags up. We wrote her a check or gave her whatever we did. And then we were married.
Yeah, and then the next day, so we changed out of our clothes.
Yep.
Got our regular clothes on. Not that we were dressed up. I put a dress on and you put on a pair of jeans. And then we took off to the ranch in that RV we rented at the time.
Oh, man, we were still doing our research back in because we'd been wanting to buy an RV, so we were doing our research. Well, we had rented a 32-foot Class A with the Triton V10 motor, and I'll tell you what, we got 60 miles out of Los Angeles. The wind was bucking and blowing, and L.A. freeways are bad anyway as far as potholes. They're just in bad shape, maybe some of the quakes and stuff. And that thing was rattling, and anything that could make a sound was. And that wind started gusting, and it's 1,450 miles from door to door. We went 50, and I knew that those last 1,400 miles are going to be white knuckle fever.
Yeah.
10-2 on that damn steering wheel.
And we were newbies to the whole RVing thing.
Yeah, we were
anyway.
newbies.
Yeah.
But anyway, we made it down to the Broken Skull Ranch in one piece, and then we made it back. And that's when we knew that we weren't going to buy a 32-foot Class A RV.
Well, it just had those skinny tires, and it was a rental.
It was a rental. Not to say that rentals are bad, because I always tell people, go rent you an RV first.
You have to rent it.
And make sure you make a long trip, because you can't do enough justice in one in 100 miles. You drive 100 miles, say, oh, yes, it's cool. Well, you drive it 1,000. And then when you drive it 2,000 or 3,000, you'll have a whole lot different perspectives on the whole thing. So anyway.
But that was the time that we got to that campground, and we didn't know how to plug it in.
That was either Lordsburg. No, that was the Indian place. What's the name of it?
Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher RV Park, and that's either in Deming or Lordsburg, New Mexico. And we were running a generator. Well, they have quiet hours, and quiet hours are at 8 p.m. So there we are sitting there having a cocktail, washing the trail dust down after about a 500-mile drive, and a dude goes, bangs on the damn door. I kick the door open. What? He goes, you got to turn your generator off. It's quiet hours. I'm like, God dang, you ain't got to get all hot about it. Hell, we're just renting this mother trucker. We don't know no different. Guy yelling at the top of his lungs. Damn, boy, he pissed me off.
Yeah, it was just startling because it was...
It was startling,
yeah.
But he didn't have to be so damn rude about it.
But I think it was closer to 10 o'clock, actually.
Well, you know what I'm saying. You know, I got to embellish the story a little bit, but he did bang the hell out of the door.
Yeah, he did.
But anyway, so that's the illustrious story, finally, of how my wife and I met all those years ago, and I can't tell you how blasted I was at that Los Lonely Boys concert. The keys in the shotgun side of the door, a total shoot. Dallas Page might as well have been one of the Walking Dead, because he couldn't hear, see me, and there wasn't no way he's going to let me in that house. And that first night led to, well, what
a lifetime.
Are we 10 or 11 years out now?
11 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're done.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
I love reality TV on Pluto TV.
Same, and I love that it's free.
It gives me the freedom to watch Bravo's Real Housewives Vault channel.
I'm totally free to watch Bad Girls Club.
I'm free for Jersey Shore.
Love and Hip Hop, I'm free all day.
Survivor, I'm free all night.
With hundreds of free reality shows, you are totally free to watch what you love on Pluto TV.
Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.